Christian Audio presents A Christian's Quick Guide to Baptism, The Water That Unites, by Robert Letham. Narrated by Ralph Lister. Acknowledgements. It is my happy task to thank those who have contributed in various ways towards the production of this book. On a visit to Wales accompanied by his wife, William Mackenzie of Christian Focus Publications asked me to produce a small book on baptism. I agreed readily, since I'd given the matter much thought over the years. I am thankful for his giving me the opportunity to do so. Philip Ross has been extremely helpful in his comments on the manuscript. I am also grateful to a number of friends and colleagues who have read the draft and made suggestions, many of which have vastly improved the finished article. It goes without saying that not all of them will agree with everything written here, but each one has been very gracious, and their help is deeply appreciated. These include the Reverend Jonathan Stephen, Principal, Wales Evangelical School of Theology, and a pastor for nearly 30 years, formerly Senior Minister of Carey Baptist Church, Reading. My colleague, the Reverend Dr. Tom Holland, a distinguished New Testament scholar and former pastor and church planter of 35 years' experience. Dr. Natalie Brand, theologian and pastor's wife. And my friend, the Reverend Lee F. Vesey, minister of Grace and Peace Presbyterian Church, PCA, Covington, Kentucky. None can be charged with any errors in the book. The views expressed are my own. As always, I give thanks for my wife Joan, whose constant support is an inspiration. My hope and prayer is that we may all come to a greater appreciation of baptism and all that it signifies, growing in union with Christ and one another in his church, and that there may be a renewed and widespread consideration for the biblical teaching on the status and nurture of the children of believers, and to its faithful implementation. Part 1. Foundational Principles. Baptism is a matter often fraught with discord and strife. One popular book described it as the water that divides. This is a tragedy, since it is the sign of our union with Christ and his church. It should be a focus for union rather than division. Yet I have known many people who have been excluded from church membership and ministry because their baptism was not held to conform to what was regarded as biblical. How can this division be overcome? Is this a simple matter, to be resolved if only everyone were to submit to the plain and obvious teaching of the Bible? Or are deeper questions involved? When we disagree on biblical teaching, it is important that we consider factors affecting the way we interpret the Bible, and so shape our understanding of doctrine. Our reading of Scripture is often governed by unconscious principles that influence what we can see in the text. Elsewhere, I have argued that we can study the Bible until we are blue in the face, but we will never come to an agreement on disputed questions, such as whether infants are to be baptized, until we have uncovered these factors. Only then will we appreciate what drove the biblical authors and the Church down the ages in its interpretation of the Bible. A key to reading a book of the Bible, or any document for that matter, is for us to determine, as far as we can, what was the intention of the person who wrote it. Often our own cultural and philosophical assumptions can hamper this process. In this first section, we will ask how far our reading of Scripture is to be taken into account in understanding what baptism means and who should receive it. We will also argue that not only the surface text of Scripture, but its implications and entailments are part of its overall teaching. The Church Fathers constantly appealed to the rule of faith in their preaching and teaching. By this, they were maintaining that the way we read the Bible must always be checked against the central truths of the Christian faith. Moreover, since the Bible consists of two sections, integrally connected, we need to read it as a whole, canonically. This means that we need to grasp what baptism is and signifies.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?